Welcome back. Modi's big budget test, or really the test of this government to deliver on expectations, to deliver on the hope that they promised last year of Achhe Din. Arun Jaitley, Finance Minister, will deliver the union budget in just over an hour from now. We're looking at the big challenges facing the Finance Minister. We'll come to two more of them, but before that, I want to go straight to my colleague Rahul Kanwal, who's at Big Bazaar, to give us a sense of what's the mood on the ground. What are the expectations that the Aam Aadmi really has of the Finance Minister today? Certainly, Rahul, over to you.
Thank you very much, Rajdeep. We're here at a big bazaar. It's a bit chaotic early this morning because this is also when the bazaar is just opening, employees just streaming in, and we're in the middle of a live supermarket. Shweta Punj, my colleague, ace business journalist from Business Today, joining us this morning. Also with us, Sriram Khanna. And through the day, we'll be speaking to a lot of the customers as they come into Big Bazaar, asking them about what they make of the big announcements. But I start with you, Shweta. We're here in the middle of this fascinating bazaar. Give our viewers a sense of what are Business Today's key thoughts going into this budget. Which of this stuff is going to become more expensive and cheap?
So, Rahul, anything that's made in India will get cheaper, because we are going to see a lot of focus, a lot of thrust on realization of the Prime Minister's vision to get products, encourage manufacturing in the country. So all your Indian brands, if the government does act on the inverted duty structure, which is higher cutting down of import duties and raw materials and so on and so forth, if they do focus on ease of doing business, we're going to see more and more companies going ahead and setting up factories in India, which would mean anything that's made in India is going to get cheaper. However, there is also a possibility that anything that's imported from outside, a finished product, could become a little bit more expensive.
Okay, but there's been a lot of talk building up to this budget about GST. So explain to our viewers in very simple language, if there's a clear-cut roadmap presented for GST, what impact would that have on people's wallets?
So GST, if they do manage to present a clear roadmap, we have states on board, it's going to be a huge breakthrough, because it's going to simplify the indirect tax structure, and that's going to be phenomenal. But in its current form, with its many exemptions...
No, so most of the products that we see around here, are they going to get cheaper or more expensive?
They could get cheaper.
By how much, like as a percentage?
That's very difficult to really say right now, but currently we are looking at an over 20% GST tax rate, which is very high, and compliance is going to be a big problem. However, we do expect it to come down to 10%. So it really varies, from product to product, how that will translate. But because it's going to mean easier access and easier movement of goods across the country, that's going to take away a lot of infrastructure issues and a lot of logistical issues, which would mean that yes, we will see at least by 4 or 5%. I'm just making a guess there, but we are going to see that going to translate.
Okay, Sriram Khanna, why don't you give our viewers a sense of, from the perspective of the end consumer, the guy who comes into a big bazaar, what is it that he can look out for in this budget?
See, as far as GST is concerned, one thing it will do, that it will make India one common market, which it is not today. A truck of goods manufactured in Kerala has to pass through several state chungis. At each chungi, some money has to be given, and every chungi becomes a potential bribery point. And truck drivers and the owners of the merchandise pay a huge compliance cost. So more than the tax incidents, the below the belt payments which are made, which don't reflect into accounts, which are actually bribery payments, expedition payments, they are going to be saved, and that is a big saving for India. And if that gets translated, I can bet you that smaller businesses will grow, medium businesses will grow, local businesses will become regional, regional become national, and the benefits of a large market, which USA had after the depression in 1930s, we are going to get as a country. And I believe it's good for consumers, provided you can discipline cheap imported products which are really coming in under-invoiced, which are coming in with low rates of duty because their invoice prices are low, duties are less, and much of the hawala business that is going on around imports, if that can be controlled, there will be fair competition between made in India and imported into India.
I want to bring in an indirect tax expert also, because at the end of it, how much you and I pay for the products here in the Big Bazaar is determined by the taxes that are applicable on it. And ma'am, if you could give our viewers a sense of what, in your view, are the key expectations that you have about the impact. We're not interested so much, at least here in this studio, on whether he can fix his own finances. People are interested in their own finances. What implications might the budget have on those?
I don't expect any major announcements on tax, especially on indirect tax. I expect, there may be changes more from his vision about Make in India. And maybe, in terms of GST, a roadmap towards GST. So in terms of, you and I, as in consumers, shopping at Big Bazaar, I don't think there should be a major change in the taxation or the price of commodities that we buy.
Okay, and if, in the way that you see it right now, given that the BJP has a majority of states where either the party itself is in power or its allies are in power, what's the possibility of the goods and services tax actually being implemented during this budget?
Unlikely that will be implemented during this budget. The timeline that has been indicated by the finance minister is 2016, so that's next year. So there are various steps to be met along the way. We have a year to go. So there is the constitutional amendment bill which needs to be passed by both houses of parliament. Then that needs to be ratified by the states. So yes, there are many steps on the way to GST. So GST, we won't see it in this budget, but maybe there will be announcements towards the roadmap towards introduction of GST.
Okay, Shweta, there are also big expectations when it comes to personal taxation. Now, the finance minister has been saying that the level of rebates being offered are from an era where salaries have changed since. Is there an expectation also that the finance minister could play Santa Claus for the middle class?
That's something very important for him to do, because he has to put in more money in the hands of people like us. It's consumers, it's consumption that drives the economy, and the last 2-3 years has seen very high inflation, which has pretty much eroded savings, and rural wage growth has also come down substantially. So that means that there are going to be two drivers. One, increase investment. Second, increase consumption. So for him to be able to do that, we can see, or we can expect some income tax exemptions. We can expect the finance minister to be a little more generous towards us this time, or at least that's what the hope is. But it's going to be tough for him, because for him to really work on the numbers and the fiscal math is going to be hard, because we have to understand that the finance minister has a very difficult job ahead of him, and it's going to be a challenging thing. But reviving consumption, which has really dried out, and it's been a drag on the economy, should be and is on the top.
We were looking at the economic survey, ma'am, and that said that the economy right now is in a sweet spot, poised for great growth. Now, what are the and it also said that don't expect big ticket reforms. Small formulations together comprise big ticket changes. What are the big reform announcements that you believe could spur consumption, as Shweta says, when people come here and shop in the Big Bazaar?
I think small things like maybe interest rate cuts, just a feel-good factor. I think all of that makes a difference in going out to shop. And I can say that personally myself. It makes a difference. If the atmosphere around you is buoyant, you automatically want to open your purse.
Okay, that's interesting.
And
so
if I can add to that, jobs. Because that's going to be a big driver, right, of consumption. If more and more people are employed, if there are more opportunities, that means people are happy and they would want to come out and spend.
So people also looking, Rajdeep, at whether he can enthuse some life into the economy, just create a general sense of buoyancy, which makes people more confident, more aggressive when they come out and consume in places like the Big Bazaar. With this, I take you back to Rajdeep.
Thanks very much, Rahul. Any of you go out and shop yourselves? No one in my.
Yes,
you do?
Of course.
You do?
I do. I buy vegetables also.
You buy vegetables. Okay, good, good.